Hi guys, this is Mark. In this video, I will demonstrate how to use the Codeless technology to create an API event handler in Backendless. If you're not familiar with API event handlers, it is a type of business logic or the cloud code that will be executed by Backendless anytime an API invocation takes place. And that business logic is the one that you provide. So it would be your logic, your code that is executed every time when a specific API event happens. Very convenient feature when you want to modify the default behavior of Backendless. Consider the following scenario. In my database, there is a table called order, and the order table contains columns such as amount and name. And the example that I'm considering implementing right now is whenever a user who is not logged in retrieves data, I want to display only name for the orders. And when there is an authenticated user, the one that is logged in, I want to display all of the information. That is amount, name, and object ID. So here we will be retrieving data using the find operation, or if we switch to REST console, in here order is selected, click get. See, now by default we get all of the information, and right now the user is not logged in. But if I log, and this is the behavior that I want to happen when the user is logged in. All right, without the logged in user, it needs to be just the name. In order to implement this, I will be creating an API event handler, and let's just jump right into it. Switch to business logic, and here select event handlers. Click the new event handler menu, select codeless, leave model as is, and then the category, select data tables. The categories are just the groupings of the APIs. The API we are going to be working with is the find API for the database. So select data tables, and then the event is the actual API call. It's going to be the find event or the find API call. Timing is important. Timing indicates when that logic will be executed. Before Backendless handles that API internally, or after. And we want after, because after Backendless handles it, we already have the data that we need to massage, that one that we need to exclude some properties. And the context is the table that this event handler will apply to. You can do it for all tables, but in our case, we need to select the order table. Click Save, and the event handler is created. At this point, it doesn't do anything. Moreover, see the blue color code for the after find event, and blue means it's in draft, means that this event handler is not in production, it hasn't been deployed yet. Let's go to Logic Designer to add the actual logic for this event handler. Couple of things that you need to be familiar with in this case. First of all, response result block will represent a collection of the order objects that Backendless returned from the find operation and passed into our event handler. The user roles block is a collection of the role names that the currently logged in user has. If the current user is not logged in, then there is still user roles, and it will contain the role that is called not authenticated user. The basic logic that we'll be putting in place in here essentially says that if the user is not authenticated user, that means that we need to extract and remove some of the properties from the response. Let's just add this logic right now. So if we go into logic and then select if, put this block in here, and then once again in logic there's going to be not, and you will see why I'm doing it in just a second. And in the lists, we're going to find the block that says contains, so list contains, put user roles in here, and then under text put this, and this will say authenticated. Alright, so we already have some logic. So what this if basically says that if user roles does not contain authenticated user, meaning that this is going to be a guest, then in this case we need to start extracting the data from the response where we only provide a subset of the information. Let's create a variable that will contain a list of our orders, and that variable is going to be called orders. And you will see why I'm doing it in just a second. So first of all, we want to put orders and then get the response result. And this is done for the reason that if this user is indeed authenticated, then we want to return the orders. So let's just do it like this. But if that user is not authenticated, then the orders will be modified inside of our if block. And in fact, if we say set orders to, then this connector right here will contain the logic for modifying our collection of orders. And the modification of the collection of orders will happen inside of this map items in list. Okay, so the list that we'll be modifying is orders. And then for every item in this list, we want to extract some data. And in order to extract some data, let's create a new object. And let's say that it's going to be just name. So we want to extract just the name. Get property. Name for an item. And this is the item. And I will go over this as soon as I just finish this logic. Okay, that's good. Now, so what do we have here? First of all, the if statement, we already went over it. So if the current user that is executing this API request is not authenticated user, then execute this logic. And then this logic for every single item in the orders collection, and the orders collection is the response result, meaning that it's a collection of our orders. For every single item, create a new object where we extract the name property for that real order. And then this object is what's going to go into the response. Okay, so here it's a perfect way of kind of filtering out all the data and leaving only a subset of data in here. Okay, that's all it takes. Now we can deploy this model. The logic is deployed. If we switch back to event handlers, notice that we now have after find in prod. It is green, so this event handler is alive. And by going back to data and selecting REST console, let's clear this response. And now if we click get, notice that the response looks very different. It contains just the name of the orders, nothing else. I also have a user in my users table that I created, and that user is me. So you can see Mark at backendless.com. Now in REST console, if I log in as that user, and this uses just the same login API that is provided by Backendless. So now the user is logged in. Let's switch to the order table. Click get, and now we get full-blown response. So as you can see, this event handler works exactly as we want it to. When the user is logged in, we get all of the data. When the user is not logged in, we got only a subset of the data. So, and here's the power of Backendless event handlers with a very simple logic like this. And I know for some it may look not so simple and not very straightforward, but once you go over it, it actually starts making a lot of sense. I hope you found this useful. Thank you for watching this video, and as always, happy coding.